Mine's the one in the middle, you can just.
Okay.
Good morning. I've asked Dr. Julie Ford to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the February 27th, 2014 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I have the honor to serve as chair of the commission, and I serve alongside Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2, and Commissioner Shelley Bueller, who represents District 1. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First item, please.
Item 1, proclamations, presentations. Presentation regarding USD 501's school bond issues. Dr. Julie Ford, Superintendent.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about the school bond that Topeka Public School is pursuing. And the elevator speech on it really is short and sweet. It's about two things, and it's about safety and educational enhancements for our students and staff. And we hope that as we share this information, that we brought some information if you want to take it back to your departments to share or have it someplace located where your employees can pick it up. We believe that this has a lot of possibility for Topeka Public Schools and our future. First of all, the most important thing about this bond issue is it is no tax increase. We are very fortunate right now that Topeka Public Schools, we've had 6 bonds. We've recently retired 4, and 2 more will retire in the very near future. So as we discuss this, we're talking about no mill rate increase because of the improvements that we're going to make to our district. So that's very important that everyone understands it's no tax increase. Partly this is due to that Topeka Public Schools has a very high bond rating, and with the combined interest rates that are available now, plus the state aid. One question that we get a lot is, why are you doing this now? Why are you not waiting till November to the next election? There is a very good possibility that the state aid that is available for this project will go away July 1st. In fact, there's a bill in the legislation right now. Right now, the state would pay for 44% of this bond issue. And that's huge for the city of Topeka and for Topeka Public Schools. You will find that many school districts across Kansas are pursuing this right now because they do feel like this is a great opportunity to improve your buildings and to do some things that we haven't been able to do for students in the past. To give you an idea, go back. Okay. Salina is going for a $110 million bond. There's 7,000 students. Liberal is going for $140 million. There are 4,000 students. Hutchinson has passed a bond for $78 million, and there are 4,500 students. We're asking $143 million. I know that sounds like a lot, but we have 13,000 students and over 20 buildings that we're looking at making improvements on. This didn't just start yesterday. The district has a facility committee that began to meet in 2010. They, at that time, made a plan through 2020 on how to improve our facilities. We were able to complete, there are 3 phases of our long-range facility plan. We were able to complete phase 1 by 2012. That included combining and making pre-K through 8 campuses, both on Eisenhower and Ross, and at State Street and Chase. And we were able to do that without any bonds, using capital improvements, and close some of our smaller buildings that weren't efficient anymore. Last year, leadership went back to the board and said, do you want us to move forward with the next phase, phase 2 of the long-range facility plan? And we also knew, because of the opportunities with the bond, this may be a chance in a lifetime for Topeka Public Schools to really upgrade and do some things like we need to. They said that's a great idea. Go out and listen to your community. We made 27 listening tours around the community in the fall. We got a lot of ideas, more ideas than we had even put into the original plan. We came back and gave it to the District Facilities Committee that developed the long-range plan, and they began working on that in, oh, you're clicking.
Sorry.
They began working on that in October. They brought the recommendation to the Board of Education in December, and in January at the first meeting, the board decided to go ahead with the bond. So as we talk about the security initiatives that are in the bond, I'm going to bring up Larry Robbins. Larry Robbins is our Deputy Superintendent over Operations. Many of you know Larry. He's a longtime Topekan, and he has been, before he was with the Goodyear plant, and he has done marvelous things for our district of bringing a business perspective into public education.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. As Dr. Ford previously mentioned, a major component of our bond proposal does have to do with safety enhancements. Matter of fact, if you go through the entire proposal, there's about 14 individual components of our bond proposal. Of those 14, 7 of them deal with safety and security measures. So over half of the components have to do with increasing and improving safety for our students and our staff. You know, some of the components of the safety enhancements would be digital camera systems, also electronic door locks, so that you would have to have key access to gain entrance into our buildings, improved exterior lighting. If you are familiar with Highland Park, if you look at the improved lighting that we did at that high school, we are really double what the code requires as far as parking lot lighting. We know that that is instrumental in discouraging vandalism, also any sort of criminal activity. Panic buttons, that would be for our front entrances and also for individual classrooms, so that if there were a need for a staff member to have to signal that there is a problem, there's an issue in a classroom relative to intrusion, they can certainly notify proper authorities at the flip of a switch or the push of a button. Window film, this is bullet resistant window film. This would protect and prevent entrance from someone shooting out entry glass in one of our front lobbies. This bullet resistant glass would also be very helpful in making sure that if there was a storm of any magnitude with high winds, it wouldn't have glass and debris blowing throughout the building and possibly causing injury. Also fencing. This is the result of an assessment that was done by our district citizen advisory council in looking at the grounds and properties of all of our buildings and identifying where there were some shortfalls as far as providing total security to entrance to our grounds whenever we had children that were out for recess or just gaining entrance and maybe possibly getting in one of our side doors. So, you know, these safety enhancements are things that we like to expand across our district. We are not waiting, sitting on our hands. We have started some of these improvements. We started with our high schools. But when you look at the expense that is involved, anywhere from $600,000 to $750,000 is what the cost of doing these safety enhancements are to our buildings. With the bond proposal, we can do this across the board now, rather than piecemealing it a building at a time each year, which is all that we can afford to do currently with our budget constraints. Also, part of our safety improvements have to do with FEMA shelters. We are proposing in this bond issue that we're going to install FEMA shelters in 12 of our buildings to go along with some of the enhancements that we already have. Of those FEMA shelters, 9 of them would be full-size gymnasiums. These are shelters that would be resistant against 200-mile-an-hour or more winds with reinforced concrete walls, reinforced roofs. Spreading that across the district. We go to the next slide. There's 2 types of shelters. As I mentioned, 9 of them would be the full-size gymnasiums. The others are about half the size of a gymnasium, and they would go across the district and really enhance what we have for our students. We currently, particularly when you look at our gymnasiums, most of them are small enough that we don't even call them gymnasiums, we call them multi-purpose rooms. And we call them that because they do serve multi-purpose. Some of them are spot classrooms. We use them for our cafeterias to feed our children. And having a full-size gymnasium not only provides safety against storms, but also provides additional flexibility for the staff at each one of those schools as they serve our children. These are pictures, and I realize that many of you may not be able to see them, but these are some of the purposes that are served with our multi-purpose rooms now. If we go to the next slide, just to give you an idea of what we'll be able to do, in addition to those gymnasiums, we have what is also counterproductive to providing a safe and secure environment. We have buildings that have modular units that are serving as classrooms. Those modular units were installed over time as the enrollment at those schools grew. Those modular units set outside and separate from the school building. So again, that is a problem when it comes to providing a safe and secure environment. We have 3 buildings right now. 2 of them are elementary schools, McCaffrey and McCarter, that we are proposing to do away with the modular buildings and add brick and mortar classrooms, media centers, restrooms to replace those and house all of those in a confined space so that we have increased safety and security. Besides those 2 elementaries, we have modular buildings at our Sheldon Head Start building, and we propose to do away with those at the Head Start building also. This gives you an overhead view of McEachran. These are the modular units. This is an overhead cutaway architectural drawing of the McEachran area. The modular buildings currently set out to the side here. All this darkened space would be the additional brick and mortar, and this gives you an idea of what we're doing with our FEMA gymnasiums, where we add the gymnasium to this particular complex, and that's the same thing that we're doing at 8 other schools. So we are improving and upgrading those grounds as far as safety is concerned. One of our schools, Highland Park Central, if you're familiar with that, the lower level of that building is where we have our kindergarten and pre-K classrooms. And unfortunately, the entrance to those classrooms are basically entrances or exits that take you to the exterior of the building. They are not enclosed in the building. We know that that does not provide the safest environment for students or staff. Also, in weather with temperatures like we're experiencing this week, children have to come outside those doors and go into the main building for other school activities. And again, when they're exposed to the outside, not only do you have the worry from the weather and the elements, but also you have the concern as far as them being safe from any sort of criminal activity and intrusion by an unwanted person. So we are proposing that we enclose this with a hallway so that the classrooms themselves happens to be enclosed in the school. The hallway would enable children to leave the classroom door and go into the main building while still being inside and not outside. And it also provides a safe entryway away from the classroom and into the storm shelter that's located at this particular building. We also are proposing as a safety feature to air condition all of our middle school and high school gymnasiums. Currently, they are not. The only middle school that this proposal does not cover would be Robinson Middle School. That's because Robinson does not have a gymnasium. They use a gymnasium across the street at the community center, Central Park. But adding the air conditioning not only provides for creature comfort, but in the spring and summer, when we have activities within those gymnasiums, since they're not air conditioned, those that border the outside of the building, we have doors that are propped open so that there's airflow and a little more comfortable feeling. And when you open doors, and you have really countered all of your safety measures, because people could enter there particularly unwanted. So we're proposing air conditioning for those buildings. Also, one of our schools, Bishop, fine elementary school, fine staff, good size enrollment, but it's a building that was built back in the 60s when the architectural design really proposed to have a more open concept. That open concept may have been fine then, but for the day and age in which we live, it certainly does not provide the safe environment that we need for our students and staff. You see the picture in the upper right-hand corner. This curtain is really the entrance to a classroom. So there's not a door that you can close and secure for the students. You just pull open a curtain with this open concept. This is an open entry to the school. Here to the left is a combination 4th and 5th grade classroom that does not have a wall separating the two. So for students, you can see how that would be very disruptive when you're trying to learn, teachers trying to instruct over what may be going on next to them. I was going to say next door, but there's no door since there's no hallway. So it doesn't provide the best educational environment, this open concept. So what we are proposing in the bond issue is that we repurpose Bishop to another purpose that Dr. Ford will cover here shortly, but the students and staff would be housed in a more secure location where they can still provide the quality education that they currently do, but we can do it in a safer manner. Okay, I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Ford to talk about our.
And I'm going to talk about the exciting things, the educational enhancements for students and staff. The first thing we're talking about doing is upgrading our science labs. We know that the jobs of the future are going to be in science, technology, engineering, math. Those are going to be high-performing, paying jobs, and we've got to inspire students to go into those types of vocations. This would include remodeling 45 of our middle school and high school science labs. Currently, this is what our labs look like. I graduated from high school in 1974, and it looks a lot like a 1974 classroom. This is what we propose, 21st century science labs that would prepare kids for bioscience careers, engineering, and really upgrade our school. One of the challenges we're facing as our teachers age, we're going to be losing a lot of teachers in the near future with retirement. A lot of districts are going to be recruiting science teachers. We can look at this as a reason that future science teachers would choose Topeka Public Schools. We would involve our science teachers in the creations of what's in those labs to make them top-notch 21st century teaching labs. Jardine Co-Campus, in the original plan, Topeka Public Schools went with a pre-K through 8 campus. This started again at Chase Street and Chase and State Street and Eisenhower and Ross. We've connected those, make them pre-K through 8. What this does, it lets a family start in pre-K and keep some continuity through 8th grade. They're actually two separate schools, but they're on the same campus. It allows us to use staff wisely, where we have social workers that maybe are in the same school working with the kids. Counselors would go between the schools, even our SROs. It really is a nice model for an urban school district. There's a lot of research that says African American males do well in this kind of environment. If creates more of a family that continues on. We often see a decline from 5th grade to 6th grade, moving from elementary to middle school. It smooths that. The next campus in the original plan was the Jardine campus. So we would continue there, and it would include the Avondale West, Shawnee, and Bishop's students going there. It would be a signature school, just like our other schools are. Eisenhower and Ross is a performing arts signature school. State Street and Chase is performing arts. The other one is a music. I got this mixed up. This one, we would allow the parents to come together, I can go back one, and decide what the signature would be. If they would choose something around science and technology, engineer, math. They may look at something around leadership. There's lots of options that community would come together and pick a signature. The other thing we would move is our behavior intervention units to an off building there, but that would give us a way to have those students have an experience which is more appropriate for them. Currently, our behavior intervention unit for elementary students is at Hope Street High School. So our elementary students are located at a high school. They don't have access to music, to PE, to playground, appropriate playground. It also doesn't allow them to really integrate back into a school when it's appropriate. So having it on an offsite on this campus, we could take the electives to them. They could integrate when possible, be part of school programs, and it's just a very good model to have kids at an age-appropriate school. We only have around 6 to 10 to 12 students in that program. Usually it's a very small program. The behavior intervention unit would be on the other side for the middle school. Again, currently they're at Capital City High School. It isn't the best model to take middle school students with behavior problems and put them with high school students with behavior problems. Again, it would give us a smaller site and opportunities to integrate electives into their and also hopefully integrate them back into the school system. This would be a real hands-on model of instruction, getting them to do more hands-on type projects than maybe the other schools. As we know, kinesthetic learners often do well. Kids need hands-on experiences. At the same time, we would remodel Jardine Elementary School. Larry didn't mention our capital outlay budget each year is around $10 million. Of that, $2 million goes to technology. So we are on a process every year on our facility plan. We do upgrade some of our buildings each year, but not a lot by the time you spread it across the buildings. This past year, we upgraded Eisenhower. I like to describe it, the first time I saw it, it had light pink and light blue tiles from the 1960s. So we took it and remodeled it and got it up to, it's a great looking building now. Jardine is due for some remodeling inside too, so as part of this bond issue, we would upgrade it. Shawnee Elementary right now is one of our very smallest elementary schools. Most of those students are bused into that school. It's less than 180 students. What we would propose to do with it is to make it a new pre-K. In Topeka Public Schools, we are 77% free and reduced students. We have a lot of poverty issues in our school. And if we're going to get our kids to reading on grade level, we have got to intervene and intervene early. And pre-K really is one of the best interventions that we can do in a poverty district. Currently, less than half of our students receive a pre-K opportunity, and we'd like to expand that. Kindergarten teachers tell us they can tell the students that have had some sort of pre-K. We also know students from poverty, they may not have books at home. They may have never been to the Topeka Zoo or been across town or explored and have a very limited vocabulary. Often students with poverty come in with about 400 words compared to students entering kindergarten from a rich text environment. Could be anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 words. So we know that a lot of times our kids that walk into our kindergarten classes are behind already. So pre-K is really an intervention that we need to work on and do more opportunities in Topeka Public Schools. Bishop remodel, everything that makes Bishop an unsafe, not a very productive school because of the way it's built around, it makes it a good professional development center. That big room that houses the 2 4th grades and 2 5th grades all in one space plus their library, that could be a great space to have for staff to do professional development, and there'd also be small rooms that we could use. We see this as a repurposing of the building. Topeka has a real commitment that we're not just going to give buildings away like was a previous practice back in the 1980s. We repurpose the building and use it for a purpose like we have at Avondale East. This would be used not only for our staff, it could be used for school districts around the county, for businesses that were having professional development, even churches that needed large spaces. This is probably one of the most exciting things that we're working on is the Topeka Center for Advanced Learning and Careers. It's called TCALC. We would locate it in the Capital City building, and really what it is rethinking high school education. What it should be in your junior and senior year, students would have an option to come out and really fast forward to their careers. We have taken a lot of people from Topeka, over 120 people from the chamber, from Go Topeka, and from our staff, and people that are interested to visit the Blue Valley School District. And if you Google that, I think you'll see some exciting things. People describe it as walking, fast forwarding 10 years to what education should be. We have changed our ideas, and in your packet, you're going to see our school to career focus. We are really about preparing every student for a career down the way. Now that does mean we're preparing them hopefully for post-secondary, which would maybe be a tech school or college. But the idea is eventually everyone's going to need a career. We look for partnerships in this with engineering, bioscience, human service, business, technology, and media. And we actually use our business partners to come in and to teach the kids, to work with our staff, develop curriculum, have it be hands-on, where they might be doing projects for the business. Kids would have opportunities for internships, and it really is an exciting way of doing business. Some of the ways that we have seen it working in Blue Valley, and I always tell people, our business community is even more supportive than Kansas City. So we wouldn't create it like Kansas City's, we'd develop it around careers here in Shawnee County. One of the things they're doing at Blue Valley, Garmin comes in, the students were doing a weather balloon experiment and tracking the data. The Garmin people would come in and the students actually worked on the Garmin project with it. The business and technology and media, nonprofits would come in, the students would develop web pages, help them plan events, work with them on customer service and how to launch projects for them. We have talked about human services. We know we're going to be short of teachers in the future. We should be tapping our juniors and seniors that want to be teachers, put them through a teaching curriculum, put them in an internship in our building, get them to Washburn, and have them ready to recycle back to Topeka Public Schools. We also have had conversations with the fire chief about some opportunities for our students working on future fire careers. So there's just opportunities. If we look at this, the building would look a little bit like this. Next one. This is the Hope Street building. We were very open, different programs. Over here is actually an accelerator program where students could start their businesses. We currently have youth entrepreneurs in our schools where students do business plans, can start thinking about incubators to start business. Over at Blue Valley, they actually have lots of students that have gotten patents with some of their ideas. So it's really kind of turning students loose to be creative. At the same time we're doing this, we're talking about needing to rebrand Capital City High School and rethink its purpose. I am sure when it was first developed in the 1960s with the partnership with Minigers that was in town, it probably was state of the art in the 60s. But right now we really need to think, what are we doing with some of our students that have the biggest needs? Most of these are emotional needs. We've got to give these kids a purpose. So again, a career focus will be put into Capital City. We have 3 different areas to concentrate on. One would be hospitality, one would be construction science, and the other would be health. Students would pick a career health pathway and focus on that. If they could go back to their real high school, which some of them do now, integrate back, we would work with them on that. Or some of these students might do very well at TCALC. We heard stories over at Blue Valley, students that were disillusioned with a regular high school. They get into a program working with technology or human services where they find their purpose. So it really is about rebranding, repurposing, and again, making it smaller because it will only be a high school setting versus making it a large where we put middle school and high school together. The Boysen building, next one. There is the building that we would redesign around this. There would be counseling continued on this. The new the T-Calc is right here, so students could go over there. There is a separate entrance where busing could take place back to their main high school when appropriate too. Hope Street Academy is a charter school that we have in Topeka. It's a high school. It's for juniors, seniors, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. It's really an alternative school. We really have had a lot of great success with that school. Students go over there where they've been unsuccessful in a large high school, and they have done a good job of graduating students. It would need some remodeling, including a FEMA shelter, some bathrooms. We also have our IT there, so it would be separating it a little bit and making it a better school site. The other improvement that we'd make as part of this bond issue is moving, upgrading our technology and really putting students where they need to be in the future. This is going to happen whether we have a bond issue or not. And it was difficult when teachers moved from chalk to paper, and now we're moving to paper to handheld devices. Textbooks right now cost us anywhere from $75 to $100 per textbook. As we look at individual devices, textbooks can be loaded a lot more economically. It's rethinking how we do budgets with round textbooks. We'd be putting it into handhelds. Students that go to college right now, they're expected to function in this world in college, and actually at work we're expected to do this too. So it's really getting kids prepared by turning in their assignments, having a lot of their books and things on the iPad, and using technology to the maximum. So we would have infrastructures and some improvements on that too. So that's the end of it, and I'm sorry it's taking so long. It is $143 million, but again, the state would pay 44% of that at this point. It is about enhanced safety and also security. And the last one is really kind of the challenge. You know, if you really think about what you want Topeka to be in the future, it's not just about our schools. It's about a lot of the initiatives that you are working on right now with the total city. The school district is an important part of that as we see our downtown improving, and my husband and I have to say this, he says, you know, people here in Topeka just don't know how great their parks are. When you come from the outside and see Topeka, but it's about what the whole city is like. Our commitment, you know, is we want to make Topeka Public School a choice place, a place where people want to go to school in a school district that they're proud to be part of. And it fits into the bigger vision of what do we want for Topeka. With our Kansas Science Energy Park, a lot of initiatives are happening right now, and the stars are kind of shining on Topeka, and we hope that this helps you understand what's in our bond issue. And I know I probably took too much time, but I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I don't want to take any, we'd be happy to answer them or call us too. Would you rather maybe to have it email us if any questions at all too? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. I don't think you can spend too much time on an issue this important to our community. Thank you for being here
You know,
this
the one
morning.
thing I also I missed was it's about $278
You know what,
million.
Dr. Ford, come up here because we won't be able to capture your voice back there. There's no microphone back there.
It is, we did a study, it's about $278 million of economic development to Topeka. And if you reflect on that, we talked to the people in Wichita, they did a $398 million bond issue, and during the recession, like they said, that was one of the things that really kept Wichita going. We would hire local architects, local engineers. We would, of course, bid out the other contracts, but it really could be quite a big job increase. And Larry, jobs, what was the quote?
628.
About 628 additional jobs to the Topeka economy. So it's a good thing, I think, for the workforce. So, thank you.
Dr. Ford.
Dr. Ford,
Hold on just a second.
can't leave yet.
Yeah, we're not letting you leave yet. No, I was just going to say that a good majority of our constituents also live within the Topeka Public School boundaries, and so
That's right.
this is very, very exciting and important for the future of this whole community. So I appreciate learning about this even more, and I know we have Larry back there, Larry Robinson, Ron Harbaugh is back there as well. So thank you for being here this morning.
We appreciate the opportunity to come. Appreciate any partnership we can do with you too.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Mr. Chairman, this morning we have vouchers that total $1,995,415.95. I would note that out of that almost $2 million, there is $664,183.02 that is general expense, of which a majority of that is bond indebtedness. We also would look at the sales tax. For the JADO is $697,933.76. So those two alone are over $1.3 million. So when we look at the vouchers for 1.9, almost $2 million, it's important to keep in perspective where that money is going. But I would move for approval at this time.
A second.
And thank you for pointing that out. Motion made by Commissioner Cook to approve the vouchers, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the correction orders by Commissioner Bueller, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A3, consider approval of annual renewal of the tax exemption for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas. And this, Commissioners, is an IRB, Industrial Revenue Bond. It's so Blue Cross Blue Shield pays all of the payments on the bond, plus they pay an in lieu tax to the county of $474,500 each year.
Thank you for pointing that out. Are there questions or comments?
I do not have any questions. I would move for approval of the annual renewal for Blue Cross Blue Shield tax exemption for 2014.
A second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Bond Council. Number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2014-16, creating the Timber Ridge Subdivision Street Benefit District Phase 3, authorizing the construction of the streets, and proposing to assess all cost to the lots benefited.
Good morning, Bob Perry. Under KSA 68728, 50% of the land that's owned by, in this case, the developers on 100%, can ask the commission to create a special tax district, construct streets within that district, assess those costs against the lots benefited by the improvements. Last year we bonded street phases 1 and 2 and the main sewer districts for this subdivision. The developers are financing and putting in at their own cost the sewers, the water lines, and the electrical lines.
Are there questions or comments?
Do
Yes,
have a
Commissioner.
question. Bob, who maintains those streets once they are put in place?
I think these streets are in the Mission Township, but I'm not positive.
So the township has to accept those streets then into their maintenance, is that, okay, all right, thanks. I see Tom Block nodding his head yes, so
Okay.
that's why I said, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer and seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve the resolution. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Bob. Next item.
Item C, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of request for payment of invoices from the City of Topeka for traffic signal maintenance in a total amount of $29,506.01.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a Public Works item. The City of Topeka provides traffic signal maintenance on our behalf. We have 9 intersections that have traffic signals. They have the staff and the equipment and the capabilities to maintain those in a much more efficient way than we do, than having to add staff and equipment to do that. So we contract with the city to provide those services. And this is the invoice for those services. there are 3 different invoices. 2 of them were the result of a traffic accident in which someone hit one of our traffic signals and the city went out and repaired it. And we have submitted claims for those costs to the driver's insurance company, and the counselor's office assisted us in getting the resolution to those payments made, and we have been paid back. I think since the traffic signals were fairly aged, the insurance company was wanting to pay us much less for depreciation costs. The counselor's office, I believe, negotiated a 90% cost of those, which I think is a good rate for those. So those 2 invoices, one was for $5,709, the other one was for $2,741.69. Again, those 2 we have received 90% of the actual cost. And then the other one is just for the general services that the city has provided throughout the year of 2013. And on the memo, the back of the memo, there was a detailed listing of all the services that they have provided. It is our recommendation that these invoices be approved. I do want to point out, on my memo, I had a transposition of 2 numbers. The actual amount on the invoice is $29,560.01 as opposed to $29,506.01. So that was my mistake, but I wanted to point that out. That is $54 higher than what's listed on the memo. If there's any questions regarding this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions or comments?
I have none. Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook to approve. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C2, consider approval of resolution number 2014-17, establishing a temporary speed limit of 35 miles per hour on Northeast 50th Street from North Topeka Boulevard to Northeast Indian Creek Road.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This too is a Public Works item. As you know, we will be getting shortly a construction project on Northwest 46th Street between Topeka Boulevard and Rochester Road. We have a detour in which Northeast 50th Street is part of, and this section I'm talking about is Northeast 50th. It's a 1 mile stretch from Topeka Boulevard to the east 1 mile. Soldier Township has requested through that during the duration of that project that the speed limit, which is currently 45 miles per hour, be reduced to 35 due to the construction and increased traffic on that roadway, in which they will have a lot of students going to Seaman High School. We looked at it, we concur with them, and that is what is before you, is to have the resolution approved to reduce that speed limit on a temporary basis throughout the duration of the project. I do want to point out why I'm speaking of this, and the Capital Journal put something in the paper for us. The start time for this project, as well as the one on Southeast 45th Street between Adams and California, were originally anticipated to start on next Monday on March 3rd. Due to the weather storm event that is anticipated to come through on Sunday and into Monday, both contractors have indicated to us that they're going to delay the start of those for 1 week to March 10th. So those roads should not be closed until March 10th as opposed to March 3rd. So if there's any questions regarding this, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Are there questions?
Just,
Yes,
yeah, I have a question. So the duration, you still would like the speed limit change to be from March 3rd to November 21st?
We'd probably move that to March 10th, since we just got notified yesterday. The notification of them delaying the project came in after we submitted this, so I would make it March 10th.
March 10th.
Okay. Let the record reflect.
Yeah. Move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller to approve, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C3, consider approval of sole source purchase from Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway Company for maintenance and synchronizing of traffic signals with railroad crossing signals in an amount of $3,800, and sole source purchase with Foley Industries for repair of a Caterpillar engine at a cost of $7,520.16.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This first item, the sole source with the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway, is we have a couple of signals that have timing, or they're timed with their railroad signals. And that way, when they have trains coming down the tracks, they will signal our traffic signals to be activated a certain way. So since these signals are tied in with their system, their railroad system, they provide the work to do the timing of that to make sure it's in proper coordination with their railroad signals. This is what we've been doing. We've been doing this for several years, and we would request that this continue to be so, because actually they are the only ones that can actually do this work. So that is what that one is about. The second one is a solid waste item, and we have a couple of trucks that have Caterpillar engines in them. Since we only have two, we have not elected to purchase any diagnostic equipment for those types of engines. So one of our trucks was having some issues. Our solid waste mechanics tried to diagnose the problems on their own without any equipment. They were unable to do so. So we brought them to Foley Industries, who's the local Caterpillar dealer in town, who was able to do the diagnosis, and when they had it there at their shop, they essentially had to disassemble the engine and determine what the issues were. There were 3 different issues. One was a new, I really don't know what these all mean, but an aftercooler for the turbo, exhaust manifold, and a new turbocharger. The cost of their work was $7,520.16, and we elected to have them do it while I was there on site. So that is what these 2 items are about. The first one will be funded. The one for Burlington Northern Santa Fe would become from Public Works Special Highway account, and the second one for Foley would come from the solid waste account, again, which is user fee based, and no tax monies are used for that account. So if there are any questions regarding these 2, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Questions?
I don't have any. I would move for approval of the sole source purchase.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no, and the motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Thank you.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C81-2014 with the Shawnee County Amateur Baseball Association to manage and operate the amateur baseball program at the Bettis Family Sports Complex through December 31st, 2016.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Knight, Parks and Recreation. As you can see from my memo here, this is a contract with the Shawnee County Amateur Baseball Association to run the amateur baseball program out at Lake Shawnee. For almost 50 years, Shawnee County just leased a corner of that park to the Shawnee County Amateur Baseball Association. That relationship changed greatly in 2009, 2010, and 2011 when we made these significant improvements to the facility. We control all of the revenues that come in. We control all of the expenses that go out. SCABA basically helps us with the rules and some of those type of things. Everything that goes on in that facility, scheduling-wise, is done by staff. Sean Osborne is here in the back, who does a lot of their special events, other sports that go on there as well, too. SCABA just does the youth baseball. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Are there questions or comments?
Just on the length of the contract, this is from, I guess, January 1 of 2014 through 2016. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so having it on a 2-year contract, and the last contract was from 2011 to 2013. So the 2-year contract part, that's just a continuation of what we've already had in place.
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, the only reason I ask is having a 2-year contract as opposed to a year-to-year contract is a little bit different than what we would typically see, but this isn't following what we've done with SCABA in the past.
It has, quite frankly, we'll go back and we'll consider a year to year continuing one. They've been out there for 50 years. I think we've probably worked out the bugs between both of us. So.
I don't have a difficulty with a 2-year contract. It's just to note that it's a little bit different than what we typically do. But I would move for approval of the contract with SCABA.
Yes, Commissioner.
I'll second, but John, not too long ago, we went out for bid on this, didn't we?
We went out to bid on this in the, at the time that we were making the major improvements to the facility.
The original contract went out.
We took proposals from all organizations and individuals from around the community to come in and run this youth baseball association for us.
All right, that's what I remember. Thank you.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook and seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item D2, consider approval of a credit card purchase in the amount of $250 for the use of the MailChimp, which sent out email blasts announcing the release of the 2014 winter-spring catalog.
Commissioners, this is an error that our staff made. We, instead of sending out our brochures, we have gone to, wanted to go to an email blast, which is a lot more cost-effective. Underestimating how complicated this is, we called Pat Oblander and said we'd like to send out an email blast. He goes, wait, you'll shut down our whole system. He suggested we go to MailChimp. We went to MailChimp. What we didn't do was we didn't check all of with the credit card purchase, all of the ramifications with that, which we will next time. But we did get all of those services, and it was very effective. So don't take anything in my memo as anything that wrong on Pat Oblander. He recommended we use MailChimp, but we didn't do all of the necessary background work on that when we made that purchase. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Questions or comments?
And then move approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Bueller and seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, John. Next item.
Item E, Human Resources. Number 1, consider acceptance of the fact finder's report on the FOP negotiations and set a date for a public hearing.
Good morning, Commissioner John Pummel, Director of Human Resources. You have in front of you an item that contains the fact finder's report for the impasse with the Fraternal Order of Police. Today, what you need to do is accept that report and also set a public hearing. I would suggest March 3rd, 2014, during your regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept the fact finder report and to schedule the public hearing for Monday, March 3rd, 2014.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Thank you.
Item F, Audit Finance. Number 1, update on revenue and expenditures.
Good morning, Betty Griner, Financial Administrator. Okay, I am here for our overview for January of 2014. And our first slide I have here is for total revenue. I intentionally used this type of a chart this time to show you that in January, the primary revenue we receive are the property taxes. These are the first half that, these are the taxes that are actually received or paid in December. They're distributed and received in January. So as you can see, the vast majority of our revenue for January is for property taxes. You can see the special assessments of the red area. That is the second largest area, and then we have other taxes and then other revenue. If we look at our totals, our total revenue for January is $40,109,000. That is compared to what we had budgeted of $40,243,000. So our revenue to budget is down $133,000, but that is on a budget of $95 million. So, keep that in mind. And I will go into the different segments and different categories of the revenue later. If we compare it to January of 2013, January 2013, we had revenue of $37,051,000. So we have received $3,057,000 more in January of 14 than January of 13. But that is, primarily due to the mill levy increase that we had. Well, it would have been the mill levy increase for last year. So now, if we look at this in the different categories, we go to property taxes. You can see here at the bottom the different amounts that we've received for January 2014, the budgeted amount, and January of 2013. Our actual to budget is a positive $30,131. So we are right on budget as far as that goes. We received 53.19% of what we had budgeted to receive in property taxes. That is right in line with the same percentage for 2013. It was 53.15%. So those are right in line with what same percentages we received last year. And like I said, we're within 30,000 of budgeted, so right in line there. If we look at the special assessments, our special assessments are actually down from what we had budgeted by 93,000. And they are a little bit higher than last year's by 34,000. Now, the percentages on this, if we look at the percentage of the special assessments, we received 49.07% of what we've budgeted for the whole year. So that's a little higher, a little lower percentage than our tax percentage is. Looking at 2013, the percentage was 51.29%. So it appears that our special assessments are lower for this time. We look at our other taxes, and this is a variety of other taxes, from motor vehicle to just a variety, RV taxes. That's actually, our actual to budget is 62,000 less than we budgeted. But, these are taxes that come in throughout the whole year. So really not a large, difference for us to be concerned about at this point in time. That's just something we'll watch throughout the year. And of course, you can see that it's more than 100,000 less than what it was last year. Okay, if we go to our other revenue, and this encompasses all of the other fees, all of the other miscellaneous revenue items that we receive. If you look at this, at our actual compared to our budget, we are slightly less than budget, but it's by $7,622. So we are right on budget with these other revenue items. And you'll see, as compared to last year, it is down $159,000. But as you'll remember, last year we had quite a few one-time revenue items. So that is going to probably continue to be down throughout this year.
Mr. Chairman. Betty, could you tell me, where do those PILT funds, the payment in lieu of taxes, like we approved for Blue Cross, where do they go into? They go into other revenue?
That would go into property taxes.
Property tax, it would go to property
Yeah, that
tax,
is considered
okay.
a property tax. Okay, then if we go to the expenditure side, you can see our actual expenditures were actually $215,000 less than what we had budgeted. The budget amount, since this is our first month of this, I'll kind of go through this. What I did on our budgeted amount was, for each department, I looked at how in 2013 they spent, what their spending record was for each month of that. Then I applied that spread to our 2014 budget. So This is what I have anticipated that our budget would be for that month, spreading it based on the expenditures for 13. Now, there again, there can be some variances if something was spent, you know, in February this year, January last year, those kind of things. There's going to be some variances, but this should give us the closest comparison, because, like, you know, Parks and Rec will have a lot more expenditures during the summer months and less in the you know, the ends of the year. You know, our allocations, we send those out quarterly. So this was my way of trying to track that as close as possible.
So the numbers are normalized to some degree, instead of taking the total budget and dividing it by 12 and
Correct.
getting meaningless information. Now we're
Yes.
normalizing the numbers to a
Yes.
large degree, and we will get more meaningful information than we have in the past.
That is, yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Betty.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look at this, like I said, our expenditures are 215,000 less than what we have budgeted. But if you look at that as a comparison to our $95 million budget, that is 0.23%, so less than 1/4%, to keep that into perspective. You also see that our expenses are 320,000 less than for January of last year. And I think, you know, that just is representative of our lower, our budget is less than last year by 4 million in total. So we are going to see that throughout the year. The last slide I have here is just breaking down the percentage. I've taken all of our expenditures and I have categorized them into 5 categories. And there will actually be 6 will be debt service, but in January we did not have any debt service payments. So you can see that our largest category is public safety, judicial, and emergency services, and that is 39% of all of our expenditures for January. Public works is 10%, public health and human services is 18%, recreation and culture is 12%, and then operational services is 21%. And those operational services are just county-wide services. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's great when there aren't a lot of questions about accounting stuff. Thank you so much, Betty. Appreciate it.
It's January.
Yes, it is early.
That's right.
Next item, please.
Item G, Commission, number 1, reflect that Commissioner Archer has appointed John Lamb to the Civil Service Board.
I just wanted to say briefly that I got to know John in 2012. He was my opponent for the county commission race, and he has an extensive background in law enforcement. I had the pleasure of meeting his wife, Francesca, who is an officer with Topeka Police Department, and so I'm proud to announce and happy that John Lamb is going to serve on our Civil Service Commission. Next item, please.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Morning, Commissioners. Stephanie Mott, Shawnee County Commission Office. The voting ends today on our ugly tie, ugly scarf contest. The Allison Lejos continues to have a commanding lead in the women's division at 80 votes to 33 votes for Becky Neosi, and Alice Weingartner starting to make a move at 13. Been a lot of action in the men's division, though, and John Knight has now taken first place at 104 votes. Commissioner Archer is in second place with 55. Pat Oblender is in third with 35. And Commissioner Andrew Howell is in the fourth place with 30. So the food sculpture judging is getting ready to start at 11 o'clock in about an hour. And Tom Hagan and Natalie Davis from Kansas First News will be helping with the judging of our food sculptures across the county. We have 7 entries. And our auction ends tomorrow at noon. And so far we've raised $1,650 through the auction.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is important, and I see John is acting like he's won the contest already, but it is still competitive. So, Are there other administrative communications?
Good morning, Commissioners. Larry Moss, Shawnee County Treasurer. I promise this is the last time I'm going to say this, but tomorrow the annex will be closed for one day. We think we're all geared up and ready to take that on here at the courthouse. The courthouse will be open. The annex will be closed for one day, reopen on Monday. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any other communications? Commissioner? Commissioner, next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
We do have a need for an executive session, and it is going to be a lengthy one. So I want to move that we adjourn into executive session for the following matters. Number 1, personnel matters of non-elected personnel and consultation with an attorney for the body or agency which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Participants in the executive session will include the coroner, our financial administrator, our county counselor, and our HR director. And I'll make a motion that we start the bidding at 45 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made to go into executive session for a period not to exceed 45 minutes. No action is anticipated. I don't want department heads to wait around for us. You can catch us later because it may go past the 45 minutes. Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. We are in executive session.
Yeah. They all got tired of waiting around.
Okay. We are back in session. No action required. We are adjourned.
Somebody gonna